Welcome to UK Theme Parks. My name's Adam, and yes, we are here for Alton Towers. Alton Towers in 2018 is back. It's back with Scarefest, and Scarefest is one of the biggest events of the year for the park. Now, hot on the heels of the Wicker Man, there are lots of intense thrills coming, but there are lots of family things coming as well. As we said in our previous video, we believe that Chesington is still better kind of all round. Although it's obviously a smaller event, it's still better all round. But there are lots of things you can do at Alton Towers. Now, Alton Towers runs from the 6th of October, 6th and 7th, 13th, 14th, 19th, right the way through to the 2nd of November. Obviously, fan favourites in Skelvin, Patch, Phil and Franklin will be back and joined by Gretel. They're the colourful characters you'll see on stage and walking around. And let's look at the kind of the family ones first. So the biggest one is the House of Monsters. For anyone that's been in House of Monsters, it's a 20-minute kind of, I'll say show, it's not really a show, it's a 20-minute sort of maze show, theatre, special effects. There's lots going on inside, and you know, he's on a modern day quest to find out the truth about monsters, and there's lots going on in there. It's £5. It's recommended for children over 8, which is probably about right. There are some scary things in there, but the storytelling should take away kind of the, you know, the edge of kind of the spookiness and everything on it. The fact there's so much going on inside. It's located at the top of Cloud Cuckoo Land, where Wobble World used to be. And, you know, it's the biggest thing for the families in there. It's probably not suitable for the really youngsters, but, you know, they say 8+. It's very similar to Curse of the Lost Tomb in terms of what it's like inside. It's kind of scariness and everything, but it's got a lot more to it. I think probably the storytelling on that would detract, well, not detract, sorry, that's the wrong word, would take away from some of the scary elements. It is a fantastic maze. And, you know, 6 or 7, you may well get away with it if you've got a little brave one. House of Monsters is definitely something to look at. But if you've got real youngsters, there's also quite a lot going on. You know, you've got the Freaky Fun Zone, which includes all of the characters. There'll be new Halloween parties, there'll be singing, there'll be dancing, there'll be the stage show as well, which is usually located at the bottom end of Tower Street. In CBeebies Land, there'll be the Monster Ball, which, as you can imagine, being in CBeebies Land, is very aimed at the small, real small children. And that'll be in the Fun Time show area, so there'll be singing, there'll be dancing, there'll be loads of little spooky things, but nothing too serious. You'll have your Alton ancestors walking around. They walk around for pictures. They look quite intimidating at first, but generally kids will go up to them and you know, have their photo taken with them and kind of interact with them well. There'll be the Freaky Funk Squad, which is live music, singing and dancing, and of course there'll be other bits and pieces going on as well. So there is quite a lot. If you're taking young children, there's quite a lot there. House of Monsters, you know, is the big thing without a shadow of a doubt. And that's, you know, for the braver ones. If you've got younger ones, then you can probably hang kind of just outside of CBeebies Land at the bottom of Tower Street for the shows, or indeed in CBeebies Land, and you know, they'll be thoroughly entertained for the day without a shadow of a doubt. Now then, the thrills, and there are some thrills at Alton Towers, and it has been for a few years, and this is the first year in a long year there is no Tower of the Terror. Now, Tower of the Towers is a maze that's been hanging around for a long time, and there's been a few changes and things where they've obviously integrated more into the mansion area, but it's not been that scary for very long. Now, that's been completely removed actually, and the other 2 mazes that are there are going to be there solely. So the new maze for 2018 is Project 42, and this will actually be located in the Sub-Terra building, and seems to sort of keep in the, you know, the spirit, if you will, of the Sub-Terra in the group and everything. So you'll enter it, and you'll enter the Phalanx building compound, and you'll try and outwit what awaits you inside. Now, the idea is that obviously it's an infectious virus, which goes quite well with Sub-Terra, and indeed goes quite well with Nemesis, and you'll need to find the vaccination and rescue the technician before contracting the infection yourself. So I'm kind of expecting them to use quite a lot of what's inside there. Whether or not they've removed the ride or not, we're not sure. How big the building is will become fairly apparent, actually, bearing in mind that, you know, when you queue outside and you have, you know, the lifts and things, what's reused in there, and indeed how they've put it together will be really interesting to see. But we're expecting them to reuse certainly some of the props inside from Sub-Terra, because it seems to fit in quite nicely. And we expect to see some new stuff as well. So this seems to be shrouded in a little bit of secret, and it'll be really interesting to see kind of how it comes up. Also returning for this year is a subspecies endgame. Now, this for us was a bit of a hit and miss maze, because we heard so many good things about it, and when we finally got in there, we didn't really enjoy it, to be honest with you. We didn't find it as scary as what everyone said. You know, let the death race begin, descend into the underground of the post-apocalyptic sewer system. You'll be split up, which you are definitely split up, and you go different ways. And there's some tight tunnels. There's some, you know, there's obviously some of it's inside the castle or inside the mansion, and then some of it's inside containers. So, you know, it's a real variation in kind of how they can do things. But it is very, very dark inside, and there's a lot of creatures in there. You know, it is a live action maze, and they will touch you. There's no may, they will touch you. They're saying it's for 15 plus. I've taken my my eldest, sorry, I would take in there at 13, 14. I don't think it's any worse than the mazes at Fort Park. But you know, that's their guideline, and that's how they go for it. And it's located within the towers. You usually enter at the top end of the towers by hex. But yeah, for us it was a bit of a hit and miss maze, but without a doubt, if you like mazes and things, it's a top maze. Now, our favourite maze at the park, without a shadow of a doubt, was the Altonville Mine Tours. And this was just, I mean, the theming in here was absolutely amazing, and is absolutely amazing. So it's like they've opened the mine again, and you go down, you have helmets on, some of them have lights which will guide along the way, and the lights sort of change as you go through, depending on where you're walking. So 1 minute you'll have the light on, you'll see everything, next minute it'll be really dark. It's very confined spaces, and you know, you're down there to uncover the legend of the Skin Snatchers. You've got to be brave. It used to be a home to the village outcasts, and you know, it's just spectacular. It's one of our favourite mazes at a theme park, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, again, it's suitable for 15 plus, and it's located within the towers. You actually tend to go around the back end of the towers, closer to X sector, and then it feels like you're walking down and going into a mine, even though you're really not. Fantastic attraction, and I say not one to be missed. But obviously Alton Towers mazes aren't free. They're not free at all, and in fact this year there's no free ones. They did have a free one beforehand, but not anymore. So it's £20 combo ticket, and that will include the Amityville Mine Tours, that will include Project 42, and that will include subspecies as well. So I say we don't miss one, but by the time you've bought them separately, you'd be better buying a combination ticket. You can get discount as well for annual passes, but if you are going for Scarefest, you need to factor that in. Now, the other big maze was the Welcoming, and of course this last year was the kind of preview for the Wicker Man, because we didn't really know what the Wicker Man was going to be, so this was kind of the preview, and it ties in quite nicely. It returns for this year in the courtyard where the food area used to be, quite close to the Wicker Man, and of course its tagline was "Be Chosen," which is the same as the Wicker Man. So followers of the Wicker Man spirit, because now they're saying that, a mysterious group previously unseen by the modern world have a sighting within the resort. Every year the scheduled group hosts a festival to celebrate their own interpretation of Halloween, paying homage to the earth, celebrating the crossover between the living world and the dead. But what part will you play? Well, that's a very good question, and you know, we already know, because you can see from the Sky Ride, that it changes. So this is a bit of everything. This is a bit of hooded, this is a bit of outdoors, this is a bit of enclosed, this is a bit of jump scares, this is a bit of creepy. This maze has everything, absolutely everything inside of it. And it's quite big. The courtyard is quite big, and the way they kind of put it together and make kind of small walking spaces, particularly for a roped area, you know, you can literally walk around in a circle and you have no idea what you're doing. So they can do that in a really small space. Welcoming, I think, will be even more popular this year now the Wicker Man's open. The Wicker Man has undoubtedly done wonders for the park, and people may understand this a little bit more where perhaps they didn't beforehand. But tickets for this are £8. It's a separate attraction, so you've got to put aside £28 if you're going to Scarefest and you want to go on all the mazes. But the only good thing about these is, you know, the time tickets are usually timed to a point where you don't have to queue much. So usually if you've got a 12 o'clock ticket, you can rock up at 12 o'clock and you'll get straight in without too much of a problem. Obviously the welcoming does need to be done at night, no doubt about that. I don't think it opens till quite late. The opening time's on the website, but I don't think it opens till quite late, because a lot of it is required to be done in the dark, where the other ones are pretty much enclosed, and you can get away with doing them, you know, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and kind of leave the evening for night riding. And of course, there's night riding. Who doesn't want night riding? For many, it'll be the first chance to get on the Wicker Man at night, you know, with the fire effects and smoke effects, and that'll look amazing. You know, you've got favourites like Oblivion, Smiler, Nemesis, I suppose Galactica doesn't really matter unless you're not wearing a headset, but there's some real cracking rides to be done at night. So, Alton Towers, undoubtedly still the most popular theme park event in the UK, without a shadow of a doubt. We get asked more questions about Alton Towers Scarefest than we do anywhere else, and we will be attending Scarefest this year, and we will be tackling the mazes, so it's something to look forward to. There'll be a vlog up for that, and make sure you check it out. Subscribe below, hit the bell. There's lots of Halloween content coming. So tomorrow we are going to have a look at Fort Park. Fort Park are going all out this year, all out this year, so you do not want to miss that, because if you haven't planned your trips yet, Fort Park is going to be one of those you have to go to. My name's Adam, this has been UK Theme Parks, and we'll see you next time.